right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Just want to go over kind of a little bit of what happened last night and then, of course, the week in general. But last night specifically, we had an event that started here. It was a planned event. We were aware of it. We reached out to the organizers, had our dialogue officers engaged. They were here for a period of time, gathered numbers roughly around 200 or so. And then they decided they wanted to march down to City Hall. At that point, they didn't all go. Some stayed, some dispersed, but a large gathering went ahead and marched down towards City Hall. In the process of the march, we noticed some of them began to spray paint, and so we took just very selective action, making sure that we were not interfering with the opportunity for free speech and the demonstration, but also being consistent with our message, which is that we're not going to tolerate criminal behavior, including violence or vandalism. So we took into custody 5 people last night. 2 of those were taken into custody by Portland Police. 3 of them were taken into custody by the Oregon State Police. And we referred those, obviously, to the DA's office for charges, and I'll let DA Vasquez touch on that in just a minute. And the charges are listed in the press release. When I was notified last night about the arrest, I thought, we almost made it. We almost made it. We've had, 2 significant series of events here in Portland, both the election week as well as the inauguration weekend. And we've had numerous very successful, very peaceful demonstrations that have allowed Portlanders to really raise to the expectation of demonstrating their values and their positions and beliefs, not always in agreement with everyone, but definitely creating that space for us to be able to exercise our First Amendment right. And that's so encouraging. Last night, unfortunately, a small group of people chose to act in a criminal manner, and we are going to be consistent as we have been for the last year, and that we are not going to tolerate or associate criminal behavior and free speech. They are different. And we are absolutely passionate and advocates and supporters of people's First Amendment rights. And we are doing everything we can through all of these events to try and be available to do outreach, to facilitate those, to make sure that they're all able to be express their points of view. So fortunately last night, nobody was injured, and we were able to get the march over to City Hall. Then they ended up down at Pioneer Square, and then it disbanded. So really overall, very, very encouraging week, and grateful for, once again, Portlanders, grateful for the Portland Police Bureau and for the state police, for the men and women doing the work out there. Very appreciative of that. I have been in regular contact with the mayor and with city council over the last 24 hours, giving them updates yesterday and making sure they're aware of the actions that were taken. And then, of course, we had the press release and information that we sent out this morning to everybody, so they've been brought up to speed on that. I'm going to turn it over to Nathan, and then we'll be available for questions.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Yeah. Appreciate it. Thank you. So, first and foremost, I want to start off and just say how much I appreciate Portland Police and Oregon State Police taking swift action last night. They've been keeping me very apprised and briefed as events have unfolded, and the cooperation is just ongoing, and it's very intense, and I really appreciate that. And what I've seen is that we are at a place where certainly many of us may not agree with what's happening nationally, and we want our local folks to be able to demonstrate. We want to be able to exercise their First Amendment rights. But that is totally different than going out and engaging in violence or in vandalism. And there is no tolerance for that. And so whether you are on the left, the right, the center, it does not matter. If you break the law, I'm going to seek to hold you accountable. And that's the end of the story, really. But day in, day out, this office is going to be working closely with law enforcement and making sure that our city remains the beautiful, wonderful place that it is, that people have the right to speak their mind and to do and have this beautiful city in a way that we can all enjoy.
All right, and briefly, I just received a statement from the mayor's office. He couldn't make it. He had a really busy schedule today, but wanted to share this. Mayor Wilson proudly supports the right of Portlanders to peacefully express their views. He stands with the district attorney and the Portland Police in safeguarding this right by addressing criminal behavior. The Portland Police have effectively addressed acts of vandalism by promptly arresting those suspected of being responsible. We extend our gratitude to everyone who peacefully joined in sharing their beliefs, helping us unite around the principles of free speech, freedom, acceptance, and the protection of the vulnerable. And again, that was from Mayor Wilson. And with we can get that out to you, yeah. With that, we'll do some Q&A.
You got that list, Mike?
Yeah, I can pull that up. Excuse me. So, all right, the charges, one individual is criminal mischief in the second degree, unlawfully applying graffiti and attempted aggravated harassment. Another individual, criminal mischief in the second degree, possession of a graffiti implement, which is a Class A violation. And then the 3 arrests by OSP, one for criminal mischief in the second degree and resisting arrest, one for interfering with a peace officer and resisting arrest, and the third person interfering with a peace officer, resisting arrest, and disorderly conduct in the second degree.
Yes, thanks. So I believe some of the lessons learned that we've demonstrated just in the last week and including last night is, first of all, a stair-stepped approach, right? We have our dialogue officers engaging well before the events, trying to be available to the facilitators to see how we can support really their message. You know, if they want us to be able to create a safe place for them, or however we can work with them. So that's the first step. And then we have increased our reliance upon our bike patrols, which allows us to, one, be more nimble and more responsive, so we can take that selective action like we did last night. Really to be able to go in and effect an arrest and then have the march be able to continue is the goal, because we don't want to detract from the people that are trying to get their message across just because people are engaging in criminal behavior. So the use of our bike patrols, our uniforms are different. Our RRT, our rapid response team, with both also on bikes, but even when in their traditional uniform, we've changed the design. They're still well protected, but it's I don't know if I would consider it a softer approach, but it's definitely a toned down approach. And then, the ongoing training we've done around de-escalation, around understanding crowd dynamics, and really trying to take a more measured approach to these events, and really allowing the community to dictate the tone of those and the manner in which they go, and trying to not insert ourselves. On this Monday, we had the march that went from Peninsula Park down to the convention center. So, Peninsula Park over there on, Portland Boulevard. And, I spoke with somebody who was in that march, and they said to me, "We never saw any police officers. We don't even know if you were around." And I said, that's exactly the point. I mean, we're not there, if we don't have to be. And so last night, much like all the events we've seen over the week, we were going to just, allow them to march and be fine. But we always are monitoring and observing. And when we saw the acts of vandalism, we felt like we needed to make arrests.
I have a question for the district attorney. Mr. Vasquez, back in August 2020, your then boss, Mike Schmidt, announced that he wasn't going to prosecute most protesters arrested at these demonstrations. And you were there when that policy was announced. Here's your photo. So I'm wondering, what's changed? What's different between you and Mr. Schmidt? Clearly you're sending a different message.
Yeah.
How are you shaking things up compared to your last boss?
Well, if you remember, I was there to talk about what was going to be prosecuted. And I'm here today to say there is not a policy in place in my office to prohibit us from prosecuting any crimes. The difference is very clear. We work very closely with Portland Police and with Oregon State Police and I'll say it again, left, right, or center, if people break the law, they're going to be held accountable.
Why are you making this break with the policy of Mr. Schmidt?
Because I don't think it served this community. And I don't think it served the individuals that were actually out trying to get their message out. I think when you have and you allow criminal behavior, it detracts from people's ability to exercise free speech. And when we see that is allowed to get out of control, our city suffers. We see windows smashed, we see fires set, we see out of control graffiti, and overall, this is an amazingly beautiful city. And every day we have wonderful protests. But when we allow that criminal behavior, it detracts from that, and it detracts from our city. And so I've been very clear that we're going to take a very different approach, and we're going to be very involved, and we're going to hold people accountable. Well, I think like a lot of local officials, I'm very saddened by the approach of the federal government in this area. Certainly I'm working very closely with our Oregon State Attorney General, Dan Rayfield. We have already dedicated our attorneys to reviewing some of the laws that were put forward. I believe it's the 1798 Alien and Sedition Act, very antiquated law. I do not believe it's going to be applied here appropriately, and we'll certainly stand up against that. Our local laws, our state laws are very clear, and I intend to remain in my focus of being very local to this community and supporting this community and the residents there.
Can Chief Day also respond to that? This statement from the U.S. Department of Justice to investigate local officials for not participating in immigration-related actions?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, there's a lot of stuff that's coming down the pike right now that nobody really knows how this is going to shake out. So we're obviously in close communication, as Nathan mentioned. We're working with our legal teams, etc. What I want the community to know is that we are 100% committed to abiding by both state law and bureau policy around the issues of immigration. We have not been actively involved or engaged in or participating in immigration enforcement for many years, maybe 2 decades or longer, I'm not even sure. And we intend to continue to follow that course of action. We are talking regularly with our federal law enforcement partners, and we are in cooperation with them in the sense that we have to all coexist, but we are not asking for their assistance or their role, and they have not asked for our assistance or participation. We're gonna stay true, as the DA mentioned, to the values and the beliefs of Portlanders and Multnomah County, and this is where we're going to continue to focus our efforts. Yeah, so where we get involved, where there could be an immigration nexus, if somebody has a warrant for their arrest that's not related solely to immigration. So if you're here and you have a robbery warrant, but you're also undocumented, then we're going to take you into custody for the robbery warrant. We're not going to ask you about your immigration status. We stopped doing that, as I said, I think literally over 20 years ago. So we're not, what's unique is we're not even in this conversation. That's for the majority of the Portland Police Bureau members. They are, acting upon state law. And so we don't ask for the status. We don't reference that to the Sheriff's Department. We just take you into custody because you have a warrant for robbery. If we are told that a person has a warrant and it's simply for the allegation of being in the country illegally, then that's going to be handled by the feds. That's not something that we're going to enforce.
Can you again just one more time describe the acts that the people protesting last night reported? What exactly they did?
Yeah, so we've already got a great team in place. Portland Solutions, which was right Johnny on the spot last night after the event was over and cleaning up the vandalism. But there were numerous places along the route between here and City Hall where they were using spray paint and markers to mark up, I don't know if it was buildings or signs. I'm not sure the specifics of that. But in the press release, we have a lot of pictures of the stuff that they were using, the spray cans and the markers. And then one of them, I think, had fireworks associated with it. And, so clearly some intentionality. I mean, that's, typically you don't just walk around downtown with a can of spray paint in your pocket. That's the first I've heard him not referred to as a police commissioner. I don't know this new form of government. I had kind of assumed he was, but that's an interesting comment. So I do have a direct reporting relationship to the mayor and to the city administrator, but I have been very encouraged at the mayor's involvement, availability. Yesterday afternoon, as I brought him into the loop on some of the issues that were going on, him and I spent time with the counselors. We went down and visited with some of the counselors last night and had some conversations in the afternoon just to keep them apprised. He's very much leading from the front, and as in his effort to try and really, I believe, create this opportunity for people to be able to express their First Amendment rights. And so I feel very comfortable in the direction we've gone here in the first few weeks, and I'm hopeful that'll continue to be the case. And I want to recognize council as well. I mean, you know, we're all trying to get to know each other a little bit in this new paradigm. And so we're having, you know, some conversations regularly, setting up, you know, meetings and so forth, trying to figure out what their needs are as they respond to their constituents, and then also how, you know, the police bureau works in this system. I believe there's one this Saturday that I don't quote me on this, but my understanding is it's led by the similar or people associated with last night's event. And when I say associated with last night's event, I'm talking about the organizers. I'm not talking about the criminal behavior, so I want to make a distinction there. So my understanding is there is something scheduled for Saturday. I anticipate that this is going to be a season for us, right? We had a period of time here, certainly around spring, around PSU and so forth, where we had a series of events. And I would not be surprised, given the energy and the intensity and the uncertainty that lies ahead, that we're going to see more of that. And I welcome people expressing that. I really do. I think there's benefit in us being together as a community, but I think it's been made clear today by both the DA and myself and the leadership from the city that, you know, we're not going to tolerate violence. We're not going to tolerate vandalism. We can't. I mean, it's just not consistent with who Portlanders are.
You had said previously, we've heard that same message, it won't be tolerated. Yeah. Prior to last night's event, the president called out Portland and Seattle for quote unquote not punishing rioters. What do you respond? How do you respond to the president's remarks?
Do you want me to take that one? Well,
probably just for my own sake.
I'll just say that unfortunately the president made those remarks, but that's not reality. I personally have prosecuted rioters and protesters. I personally worked on those cases, and I've personally seen those individuals sentenced to prison. And that has been, again, individuals that were on the far extreme left and individuals on the far extreme right. So while certainly under this new administration we're taking a different, more direct approach, I can say that for years in Portland we have worked to hold those violent people accountable, and we will continue to do so.
Permitted? Are any of the events permitted? I'm not sure. I don't know the details of that. Benner can.
I do not believe any of them.
Not to my knowledge. Yeah, how crucial is the mutual aid that we share with OSP, and it really has just been tremendous. I'm grateful for the governor, for her support, and Superintendent Cotting, and for the men and women of the state police who, you know, really come from all over the state to participate and support us. Now, we train with them regularly, and because we've been engaged with them through the 90-day fentanyl emergency, and we've developed a really close working relationship, I feel very comfortable. They understand, once again, Portlanders, they understand our community and the expectations we have of law enforcement operating in this community. So just super appreciative, and really a big part of our ability to be successful and manage these events safely, as demonstrated by their actions last night. All right. Thank you.